How about Harley Race, and what did wrestling him? What did that do for your career?
Anytime you could wrestle a world's champion, I mean, holy smokes, that was just to be in the ring against a world's champion, to get that opportunity for the promoter to think that you were good enough or qualified or whatever. And I wrestled Harley a couple times, but the one most significant was at the Bayfront Center, and we had Harley coming in for a big show, and really didn't have an opponent for him. Dusty was working someplace, and Barry was out of town. Everybody was kind of gone. Barry wasn't even there yet. This was in the 70s. Barry was still, he wasn't right. But all of our so-called big names were gone. And we had a date at the Bayfront Center, and we had the world's champion. So my dad comes up with this thing. Rocky had just come out. Mm-hmm. So Dad calls me and said, "Hey, Rocky, come down to the sportatorium. I need to talk to you." I said, "Who?" "You'll understand when you get here. Get down to the sportatorium." So I went down to the sportatorium. He had the camera guy there. And he explained, he said, "Okay, here's the deal. We got Harley. We don't have anybody ready to wrestle the world's champion. We've got 2 weeks to get you ready." I went, "What do you want?" And so we did exactly the same thing. I went out and run, and I had a speed bag in my garage at home, and I hit the speed bag, and I lifted weights, and I squatted, and I did the one-arm push-ups, and we did a video, just a simple video, like the Rocky thing, and we put music to it and all that, and sold out the Bayfront Center. And when the Bayfront Center was torn down a few years ago, like the top 10 events in that building, 7 or 8 of them were wrestling.
Wow.
And Jack Briscoe and Dory Funk Jr. were number 1 for attendance. Dusty and Terry Funk was number 2 for attendance, and me and Harley Race. That match was the 3rd largest attendance record in that building.
Wow.
So just, doing the Rocky thing, but again, just to be in the ring with the world's champion. And he was when you get to that level and you're the world's champion, you are different than everyone else. You're a different breed. You're a different cat. And Harley was one of those guys that was just incredibly strong. Holy smokes. I mean, he could just grab me with one hand and pick me up and set me over here and do different things. He was just an awesome powerhouse guy in the ring. And you would never think, looking at him, that he was that way. But he suplexed Andre the Giant.
Wow.
Yeah, he suplexed Andre into the ring from outside. Andre came up on the apron, and he kicked him. And when Andre bent over, he hooked his head and picked him up over the rope and backed him up into the ring and suplexed him. And Andre was over 500 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was an awesomely strong athlete.
Mm.
And mean. He had the deep, sunk, narrow eyes. He'd look across the ring at me. I'd go, "Oh boy, I hope he ain't hungover tonight."
There was a huge angle with Kevin Sullivan. How out of control did that angle get?
Do what now?
The Kevin Sullivan angle?
Right.
How out of control did that angle get?
Well, out of control. Somebody asked me the other day if my dad ever tried to keep somebody, you might say, calm down or keep them from stepping out. And no, it was always wide open. If you could do something that nobody else could do, or look like nobody else looked, or make yourself something special or whatever, then that was fine. And Kevin, really, his devil thing and all that came after it was mid-85. My dad died January of 85. So my dad there was nobody there to control Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Katie barred the door. His entourage of snake people and half women with their hair shaved and just everything. He took it to the limit. He pushed it as hard as he could push it. And like I say, people were saying "Devil go home" right on the walls. We were getting mail and stuff from preachers and reverends, and how can you have the devil worshiper on your TV and all that kind of stuff. And then he didn't slow him down. He just kept right on going. And then it finally leveled off, and people kind of got used to it. And then he went to Atlanta.
Was there any angle that he ever did that just totally got haywire, or everything was pretty much kept in control, basically?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty well. It was nothing really got crazy and out of hand. His interviews were really his wild and the X's on his head, the Manson thing, and he pushed some boundaries of social issues that I don't think my dad might have let him do because of the way people might have conceived it or something. But he drew a lot of money. He made a lot of money, and he always backed it up, and he never missed a town, and he didn't say anything that he was going to do that he didn't do. And so God bless him, if he wanted to put himself in that light. And he's still remembered in Florida as the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody see, hey, you talked to the devil lately? Yeah.
How about JJ Dillon?
JJ was a great man. I mean, he was a good wrestler and then became a manager. And JJ is extremely intelligent. I worked a lot with him at WCW, and very personable, but had done the whole thing. Had wrestled, had done some promoting, then went to being a manager, and then went to work in the office in WWE, and was a detail. He wrote down everything. Wrote his calendars and books and the things that he would do to keep track of who wrestled who and who won and who lost and how they won or lost and just everything. His knack for detail was just incredible. Along with being a good wrestler, a good interview guy. He was one of those who was well-rounded. He could interview, he could wrestle, he could manage. He kind of set the tone for kind of like Gary Hart, and that Gary never tried to make himself the show. He was always there to support the show, and JJ Dillon did the same thing.
Okay. How much a part of the booking committee were you?
Well, I mean, at different times, Jerry Briscoe and I were the bookers of Florida. I helped my dad a lot when he was running booking Florida. Buddy Rogers and myself and Jerry Briscoe booked for a while. Dusty did some booking there, and I helped him. I was always involved, kind of in one way or another, because I was my father's son, and went up and down the road with him every day and talked a lot, and a lot of his ideas of the wrestling industry and people and all that kind of stuff was in my head. And Kevin Sullivan and I booked Florida for a while, so I had different people and mentors, and but I was involved quite a bit for a lot of years in booking the territory.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.